Okay, great. So this morning, what we're going to do today is just have a brief overview, introduce you to the community, and then we're going to open it up to our So, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is the online group English MuleSoft Meetup group. And today we're having a panel discussion on multiple career journeys, MuleSoft use cases, challenges, and more. So quick agenda, we'll go through some community updates, we'll have our panel discussion, and feel free to ask questions and answers. And one big highlight I would like to call out is that we are in the time of MuleSoft Connect. Connect is happening next week for AMER on May 18th, and ANZ on May 19th, and EMEA also on May 19th. We're going to have 3 special community meetups. The AMER is at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, featuring Kyle Usher and Thiago Santos. Then we will have an ANZ meetup at 10:30 a.m. Sydney time, featuring Varun Mukund. And we'll also be having a Mule Ambassador panel discussion. And then we will have our EMEA meetup at 10:30 a.m. British Summer Time, and this will feature Gonzalo Revez, Rafael Mendoza, and Ujjwal Toda. Also, if you register for your region, there's no additional registration to be able to attend any of these meetups. And an exciting product announcement, we have gone to the dark side. So with Anypoint Studio 7.9, here's a little video. So just a fun little sneak peek. You can find more information on the MuleSoft.com website. And a few things to keep in mind. So for training and certifications, the MuleSoft Certified Developer free certification voucher is available when you complete the MuleSoft self-serve course. You can find that at training.mulesoft.com. For any training queries, you can go to help.learn.mulesoft.com, and also you can email trainingops@mulesoft.com. If you have any other questions or doubts, we do have a great community to help you, so you can go to the help center on mulesoft.com, ask your questions. You can visit us at meetups, and you can visit us also through the blog or our LinkedIn communities. And it's also important to leverage Stack Overflow. This is especially for those of you who are working with data weave and runtime. And just a few guidelines for today before we get started. So please pop any questions you have for our panelists in the chat using the Q&A tab. Anyone can try to answer. Since it's a panel, please try to make them relevant to either their career journey, MuleSoft use cases, just over to all topic, and we will try to get to as many as we can. Remaining questions will be asked on your behalf at the end of the session. The recording will be shared in the Meetup page and in the VirtualMuleys YouTube channel. And your feedback is always what drives the content of these meetups. So there will be a survey that you're sent at the end of the event, and please let us know what you think. Okay, so now the exciting part, and I can stop rambling on. We have some amazing panelists meeting with us today. So we have Deepak Mahadevan from IQVIA. We have Sonali Roy, also from IQVIA. We have Edgar Moran, a MuleSoft ambassador from Twitter. We have Felipe Ocadiz, another MuleSoft ambassador from Twitter. We have Francis Edwards, also a MuleSoft ambassador from Saint-Gobain, and we have Josh Ernie, also a MuleSoft ambassador, who is an independent consultant. So I am going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to allow these panelists to introduce themselves. So I think easiest way is probably to go through as a round robin. I'm just going to go by my screen. So immediately underneath me is Francis. So Francis, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, name, title, company, years of MuleSoft experience, and any other thing you think that our audience should know about you.
Hi, I'm Francis Edwards. I work for a company called Saint-Gobain. just really the juice and elements of it. So selling building materials to builders and doing lots of house extensions. So quite a busy time, pandemic or not, people are doing a lot more work on the houses. So we've been through a digital transformation of moving our offering to more of an online offering and then delivering to your door. My MuleSoft experience is about 4 years now. I started Saint-Gobain in 2017, and it was brand new, straight into MuleSoft, never seen it before, although I had been involved in integration work, usually with SQL databases for quite a few number of years before that. I've been in IT since about 1996, so a lot of experience in lots of varied different industries.
And now, Sonali, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Hey, thanks. Hello, everyone. Nice to see so many participants over here. This is Shonali Roy. I am from Bangalore, India. I work for IQVIA. It's great to be associated with a company which is touching the human lives. And at this point of juncture, it is really true for everyone, and we are aware where we are going through. I feel proud when I go to any of my friends says that, hey, I have taken this vaccine, and I know that it was IQVIA who was participating in the trial. So great to be associated in this organization, and great to be part of the MuleSoft team in IQVIA, where we try to really see how we can leverage the different applications or offerings that we have in IQVIA and bring them together and offer to our customer even more better experience and a consolidated experience, leveraging all the IQVIA tools, data that we are known for. So thanks, MuleSoft, for partnering with us, integrating all these things.
And then Deepak, do you want to take it away?
Let me unmute. Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity to be able to be on this panel. I'm Deepak Mahadevan. I'm based out of North Carolina in the USA, East Coast time zone. I've been with IQVIA for 14 years. This is my 14th year and going. And IQVIA may not be a household name, but this is a household name in the pharma life sciences space, where our company is behind most of the popular drugs and vaccines behind the scenes, enabling pharmaceutical giants worldwide, making patients' life better. I think that's the main motto of the company. And we're a large organization, 70,000 plus worldwide presence. And so I lead the integration practice in the organization, working with pretty much all the business units, helping build better integrations, enabling connecting technologies with customers, and MuleSoft playing a major role in this space. And our footprint is going to only expand. And Sonali is my colleague. We work together in bringing all these better outcomes to patients eventually. So like her said, we're always proud to, at least in these times when everybody's talking about vaccines, clinical trials, safety, efficacy, and we're able to confidently talk and explain to our family and friends on what these means, and don't worry about efficacy, 50%, 60%. They all mean different things, but don't just get any vaccine you want. So stay safe, everyone, and looking forward to a great discussion. Thank you.
Awesome. Fantastic. Felipe?
Hey, Sabrina, thanks for the invite. Hi, everyone. I'm Felipe Ocadis. I work as an integration engineer at Twitter. Currently, I'm co-leading the integration team. I'm responsible of keeping the infrastructure running. I'm also responsible of partnering with all the internal business units to support their integration needs. So we go from the gathering the requirements, so designing, building the integrations, monitoring them, operating, etc. So I've been using Mule since 2014. So from Mule 3.4, something around that time. So I've been going through a lot of changes in the platform when it was only the ESB, moving to the API key, moving to Anypoint platform, and all the new tools just to build what Anypoint platform is today. Very excited to be here today.
And Edgar?
Good morning, everyone. This is Edgar Moran. I'm an integration engineer also at Twitter. I'm working along with Felipe in the same team, and I'm leading a different pillar inside of the company. And basically, we are doing the same, right? Like just making integrations, connecting multiple applications that we have. I've been around of MuleSoft technology for 5 years now. My background is going to Salesforce developer. I was a Salesforce developer. I'm still kind of Salesforce developer, but the experience is going to 11 years back. And then the last 5 years, I've been just focused on the MuleSoft platform. Sorry, and I started working with MuleSoft here at New York with an advertising company. And then they hired me because I was a Salesforce developer, but then they present me a MuleSoft with version 3.8 something. And from there, I kind of fell in love because it was so easy to, I could deliver all the integrations pretty fast. And then having Salesforce along was like the great mix, right? And then integrations and applications from Salesforce and MuleSoft were just like a top thing. I really fall in love, and I like it a lot. And yeah, the industry mostly has been advertising. I've been doing some project management thing and projects with MuleSoft, and just now with Twitter, just integrating these great platforms in the end. But yeah, also really glad to be here and honored to be with along all these panelists too. Thank you.
All right, Josh, you want to end the introductions for us?
Great. Hey, thanks for having me. My name is Joshua Ernie. I've been working with MuleSoft for about 4 to 5 years now. I blog about MuleSoft at Journey.io. And as a MuleSoft consultant, I'm really just helping companies get the most value out of the product while providing guidance to architects, product managers, engineers, etc. So this includes things like across the board for the whole software development lifecycle, requirements analysis, solution design, testing, DevOps, implementation, documentation, all of that.
Awesome. All right, so now that we've heard a little bit from each of the panelists, I'm going to dig into some tough personal questions. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to learn a little bit more about how they work with MuleSoft, what their role entails. And so Deepak, you are up first. So you started your career as a developer and have transitioned into a leadership role. What resources did you use to help you feel confident in this transition? Did you rely on mentors? Did you learn these skills in school? Can you provide a little more detail on that?
Yeah, that's definitely a tough one. Okay, so let me Google the answer. No, so yeah, this is definitely. I wanted to share. I've been an architect by profession, developer, and that has been my passion. And working since I've been in the industry since the 90s. I had a privilege of working on legacy tech, which even COBOL. This is like sometimes it's embarrassing to say, hey, did you even work in COBOL? So, but yeah, but the reason is I worked on COBOL to actually not to development, but to change the IO to make sure all the Y2K issues are solved, and I wasn't doing actual COBOL development, but I was using COBOL to basically scan the code, write tools to be able to scan programs, identify the IO in that, and replace with maybe a relational database call, and things like that. That's how I kind of started my journey. This was using Perl and C. C is still my favorite language, I know, because you get to do everything that you probably may not be able to do today with the modern tools. But sometimes this feels like old school. Hey, why do you want to do everything yourself? There are tools that can make things faster. But that's always been my thing. Like, try to do everything on your own, and just so that I learn like how it works, rather than just relying on just use this, reuse this. Right at that time, reuse wasn't in my I would say the approach was no, I want to do it myself. So that's how I kind of started my career. And then slowly, as I kept doing it, I figured technology changed, and there's only a few limited things that you can do as an individual contributor. And I felt it's time to maybe mentor other people. Why don't I create more Deepaks, right? I always try to find myself when I talk to the other person, kind of raise the bar to the same level. And So that's thought maybe I should do. That's where I should contribute, share what I know, learn from them, because I still keep learning, and I still feel like I don't know a lot of things. And that's okay, because I feel otherwise I'll stop learning. So I continue that. And that's when I started, okay, maybe I should transition to this leadership role. And I did, and this was like very hard, let me be frank, to transition to leadership role from developer role, mainly because of not being able to let go. When I said not let go, it's like I had the tendency of, hey, can you show me the code? How did you do this? Why don't you do it this way, that way? So that didn't fly. I mean, like that kind of upset folks, and nobody wanted to work with me. So then I think it helped when I said eventually, okay, fine, let me trust them. They probably know more than me. I don't have to bring in my frame of thought all the time. So that took a while. I would say it wasn't easy. And then once that transition happened, which took me a couple of years actually, and then it became, then I ran into a phase where, oh, maybe I don't know anything, what's going on. Everybody's doing everything is working fine. But what I've realized is I'm able to achieve more by having let others do more. Right? That's when leadership is not about what you can do, but more how you enable others to do. Right? So that's how I felt the transition happened, and definitely mentors have been a big part, because I've been the way I learned was watching them in any presentations or even other teams, and how they behaved, not by trainings. Trainings are okay, but I never became a leader after a training. Like I can put a certification thing, whatever, and increase my signature in my email to 2 lines. I have all these certifications. But no, that didn't, at least especially for leadership, I don't, at least in my view, they are just catalysts or accelerators, but you only learn by watching others and actually doing it. And it's okay to fail fast. This fail fast works in technology too, right? When you just want to try something quick and make it work sooner than all these waterfall phases, and eventually no, this is not going to work. So the same with leadership as well. It's okay to take the uncomfortable route, and you will succeed. I think that's how I can say I have passed the hurdle of transitioning into a leader. And yeah, I mean, it helps because every leader has also been an individual contributor probably once. No, I don't think anyone just comes out as a leader on day one. Maybe they have their traits, but their role in an organization evolves over time. And I think that's my journey. And in terms of MuleSoft, right, we did in IQVIA, we started off with some legacy technology in Oracle SOA, SOAP, all the old middleware technologies. I'm calling old, no offense to anyone who still like it, but service-oriented. Someone says SOA, maybe they still have to look up, things have changed or evolved over time. But the concept still remains. I mean, everything is still service-oriented, and more, it has evolved, and they're built on foundation of these principles at the end of the day. And we transitioned from like on-prem middleware stack to then that's when MuleSoft was around 2017 or 2016 is when we looked at MuleSoft. This was obviously before Salesforce acquisition. And we thought that kind of fit the bill because I saw the focus of MuleSoft was purely integration. Unlike the other vendor, they had 1,000 other things that they do, and this was like a long lost cousin, and that didn't make any, they didn't have all the features and great roadmap that we thought we could use and help IQVIA build their next generation of products. So MuleSoft definitely was small, nimble at that time, and easy to learn. I wouldn't say, I mean, easy in the sense that more understandable than writing a lot of low-level code, which you don't need to do. See, now I'm talking this way. So initially, when I was a developer, I said, I have to write every code. But now I'm a strong believer of don't write. If the problem is solved, please don't break your head. It's just trust it and keep moving forward. Solve bigger problems. Then those tiny little things don't add any value. So yeah, so MuleSoft journey has been fantastic. We have a great large footprint. We started off with mainly focusing on enterprise internal integrations, and then We have evolved into more building SaaS products using Salesforce. So Salesforce is one of the prime technology that we use to build these SaaS products. And then MuleSoft obviously comes as a side effect. If you choose Salesforce, MuleSoft is the best fit hand in glove technology that can help connect with other technologies that the applications would need. So we are focused on like connecting the intra-product integrations, which is connecting the product components itself. So that's how we want to phrase it. So there's APIs that connect Salesforce to maybe like Snowflake in the cloud, Oracle, or any data with Cassandra and things like that, or anything in the AWS compute. So all that is enabled by MuleSoft, and then that's all the internal facing one. And then that also opens up connecting up with customers, like the products that we sell, they always want to have, hey, can you connect with our technology? That's another space where we're working on. So yes, fabulous journey from a developer to into leadership role, primarily focused on integration. So yeah, so I don't want to take too much of time, but I'll stop here.
Awesome.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, and Sonali, kind of going off of this track, how do you ensure on your team that the MuleSoft developers are getting the knowledge and staying up to date with the industry and more broadly in the integration space? What should developers be aware of?
Yeah, I think I'll take a little bit of step back because this question really maybe fits into how I have evolved over the time, right? Because when I started, I think most of us here who are on the call have started their journey with being a developer, at least in the IT industry when they started, right? And after that, many people I have seen who have continued to be in the technology space, working as a developer and growing as per the pace to the lead developer, blah, 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 right? However, when it comes to me, I kind of can't stay in one space for a long time. So I always try to really explore other things, and that helped me to not only work on one technology, but to also work on various technologies over the period of time. And not only for the technology space, but also with other functional areas, be it the QA, be it the project management, be it the BA analyst, be it the PDM team, the product management team, everyone. What I have seen over a period of time, while it is very important to know your space and your technology, it is also important to know what's the business case that you are trying to solve, right? And that's where I have seen that the developers, the architects, the leaders are bringing the difference on the table. And that also keeps people who are interested in the technology, if we can bring onto this angle that, hey, if you are writing code, which on clicking a button is going to open an invoice, what that invoice is going to do, who those invoices are going to be catered to, what the life cycle that will follow with that invoice. So that kind of business knowledge is definitely important, and I ensure that when we go into any kind of discussion with the developers, they are aware of that. Now, having said that business knowledge, it is also important to understand the whole life cycle. At times, many a times I've seen that people are getting a little bit bogged down that, hey, I have to do the integrations piece, so I would only know what MuleSoft will do, what are the interfaces that I'm going to do. But I think Josh was telling in the beginning of the call that he has explored the entire life cycle, be it the CI/CD, be it the DevOps, be it how it is going to be helping in the automation. So when you are trying to develop yourself as a developer or in the technical leadership role, I think it is also important to understand the entire gamut of the technologies, right? And then while I do like MuleSoft, and I think that they are one of the best in class in offering all the new age technologies, the new way of interfaces, the API-led of integrations, but it is also important maybe to understand that what are the different technologies that we have in space, what are the offerings that they are providing, and to come out with the best from each of them. And one thing that I like about MuleSoft, since we are talking on the MuleSoft forum, all the partners that we have had so far, they have been very, very open to our suggestions. So if you find out that there's something that is working on in any other platform, bring it to them. They will be happy to incorporate. But that is just one aspect to enhance the MuleSoft platform. That will enhance the knowledge of the developer itself, right? That will enhance how the integration space should look like or work out. So those are few things that I will say that helps me to get engaged with my developers, with my team, and bringing that differential experience, if I may say so, on the table.
Okay, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to now dive into Josh. And he's had quite an interesting career and kind of overview. And so I was hoping Josh could talk a little bit about your transition into becoming a MuleSoft consultant and what skill sets you found to be the most important in your new role.
Sure. Thanks, Sabrina. So when I started my career, when I got out of college, I was working at a large consulting company as a technical analyst, mostly doing requirements analysis and a little bit of development. I knew that I wanted to be in development long term. I really like the way we do problem solving when it comes to software development. So after a little bit, I transitioned out of that company into another one, much smaller, and worked there for a few years, and that's when I got my experience with MuleSoft and really built up my skills there. A few of the people that I worked with and some of the ambassadors that I had met that I looked up to were also independent consultants, and just from like picking their brain and asking them about what they thought about that kind of career move, I decided that that was something that I wanted to do myself. I started becoming a lot more interested in the business side of things. Even when I was at these consulting companies, not just the IT side, I started becoming interested in how these companies make money and how they look at IT, whether or not it's costing them money, it's earning them money, so on and so forth, and how that relationship with IT works within the business. I got to the point where I'd been blogging for a while. I had the MuleSoft ambassador thing going for me as well. And I felt it was time that I had made that transition. I'd already made a decent name for myself within the community, so I thought it was a good time to take a risk and try something new. And that's when I started getting into independent consulting. The other question was, what skill have I found to be the most important in my new role? It's always been this. It's always been communication. Communication ability is by far, in my opinion, the most important tool, no matter where you are in the company, IT or not. From trying to find contracts, networking, deciding what solution to build for the client. If you can't effectively communicate with people, it just makes things so much more difficult. So communicating technical concepts to non-technical people and vice versa is really important. I remember I'd be on the phone with my mom. She lives in Virginia, I live in Denver, so I call her every week. And she'd ask me, what I'm doing for my job. And that was a good opportunity for me to explain to someone with a non-technical background what I'm doing. And I knew that if my mom could explain back to me what I was trying to explain to her, then I was doing a good job with my communication. Next to communication, I think the most important thing is understanding how what I do delivers value to the company. Whether or not that's increasing profits or reducing costs, I think it's important to understand how the actions I take within the company are somehow tied to how they find me valuable. Because if I lose sight of that, it becomes difficult to do your job well if you lose sight of things like that. I think that wraps it up.
Awesome. I love that, explaining to your mom. I don't even work in a very technical position, and my parents still don't understand what I do. So maybe I need to work on those skills. All right. So I'm going to hand it over to Sandeep. He is one of the co-leaders of the online group, and he's going to kind of run through the next set of questions for our other panelists.
Perfect. Thank you, Sabrina. Hello, everyone. I'm Sandeep Deshmukh. I work as a technical architect in MuleSoft's customer success team. I've been here with MuleSoft for about 2 years now, but I've been with the community over 3 years. So I see a lot of familiar faces and participants in this list. So I'm glad that I'm here. I'll be organizing more and more meetups in the future. So excited to be here. Edgar, the next question is for you. So I want to kind of, tag on to what Deepak mentioned before on his journey on being a developer and transitioning into a leadership role, right? I know you mentioned that you have been in several different roles, starting as a hands-on developer, then an architect, and now you're as an IT apps engineer. So I want to know, like, what are the similarities that you have seen in these roles, and also what are the biggest differences if you compare each role versus other? Can you give us a little bit more insight into that?
Definitely. Thank you very much. So yeah, I think it's pretty subjective to talk about the roles and the transitions, right? Because everybody has their own experience going through different roles. And it also depends of the size of the company that you are working, right? Sometimes for smaller companies, you have to do almost everything, right? Like since being a developer, since the beginning, setting up stuff. So you are now DevOps person, but also you are talking with the business part, right? And having that kind of experience, even you are just a developer in terms of a role in a company, also helps, because in the end you are growing little by little, and also you are kind of having more information to talk with other areas and stuff. So when you're transitioning from developer, for example, as developer, you have put hands on work, you are kind of investigating issues and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting and also intense. And it gets more intense when you are also kind of dealing with issues directly with customers. For example, if you are in a consultancy or you are working for a company that is really small, you have to also face those kind of issues. And then being jailed by the customer sometimes is part of it, right? But in the end, I think something important to mention is like kind of this experience that you are getting allows you to be a little bit better and grow, right? So when I transitioned from developer to integration architect, because it was like a big step, then is because I had some more experience. It doesn't come just right away, as Deepak mentioned at the beginning. So you have to have a lot of issues and failures too. So it's nothing is like the sweetest on this path, right? But when I transitioned to integration architect, then I was seeing more things, right? But I never stopped being a developer, because in the end, I was still looking at the code. Yeah, we never lose that piece. Even we are kind of just designing or architecting things. I think we always go back and kind of we want to still investigate and continue growing, because in the end, you never stop learning. That is another thing, and you need to be at the level of also the developers, because if they are kind of they are good in their work, you have to actually be able to provide a certain feedback, being able to even trying to solve issues along with them, because sometimes it's just we have an issue, nobody knows what's happening. You have to jump there and kind of help them too. And then the kind of transition from integration architect to now IT apps engineer is a different role now, because I was developer, I was now designing, but now I have to design too. I'm still doing development in the company, right? So the role basically is very subjective for myself. Specifically, I'll say it is like a peak where I was doing more design at some point, but probably I miss a lot to be developer as well, that I have to go back a little bit and continue doing. And now MuleSoft is changing a lot, right? Like previously we had not much documentation. It was a little bit hard to get along with MuleSoft in certain terms. We just have a lot of resources, right? Like we have the community, we have a lot of meetups. Everybody is posting a lot of blog posts, which is really good, and there's a lot of people that also do videos, right? For myself, I'll say videos are like a really great tool, because I'm able to actually see in real time what's going on and what I need to do. And sometimes these kind of events, right, like gathering, having this kind of conversations, and the Q&A also definitely is really important. So we can definitely learn from everyone. And just to finish, I'll say the big difference is just everybody has their own concept. I'll say as far you are doing what is a little bit aligned to that. And again, depending of the actual size of the companies, right? You have better structure. Right now, for example, at Twitter, I know better what is meant to lead to actually design and do my stuff better. previous job there was not that structure, and it was just harder. You had to do everything. But right now, at least we have some good leaders. They kind of shepherd in the way, and we can just we feel supported by them, right? And this is another thing, because we need to support now people, right? In these roles now, if you are leading a team or a coding team, basically you need to be a leader. You need to help them, and that's part of the role too. So pretty much that.
Felipe, I know you work very closely with Edgar. Do you have anything to chime in? Your experience in this field?
Yeah, in my case, I didn't feel like a big change in the roles. I mean, coming from a consultant, and then I also started working as an IT. I think this is where I've been positioned for a while as an IT engineer. So like really helping the company for the internal needs. So the role for me has been very similar, because I really like to support the rest of my teammates. So that means that I try to do my best to understand the technology we are using. So, for example, in Mule, so I started really early, like trying to get trained, to get certified, to try to do and implement a lot of different design patterns, to use different connectors. So that way I can understand what are the main pain points that I would face, to also support and help others. So it's pretty nice when someone asks someone in the team channel, like, hey, I'm facing this issue, and then you face that before, and it's like, yeah, that's easy, you only need to do this small change, and then everything is working fine. So and I've been like dealing with similar situations under different roles. So as an engineer, as a manager now, it's similar, just trying to support and trying to help others to do better.
That's great. It's good to see that everybody on this panel has some kind of hands-on experience on the platform, and then eventually led to bigger things. My next question to Francis. So Francis, looks like starting as a developer is a way to go to become a MuleSoft ambassador. What do you think are the requirements for someone to become a MuleSoft developer, become an operations expert or a developer? Could you give us a little bit more background on how can one become an expert?
Sure. I think there's really two ways to get into MuleSoft. One from an operations side and another from a developer side, because you're looking at two different kinds of issues and dealing with different stakeholders. It also depends on the culture of the company and what they're currently implementing. If they're using the word digital transformation, it's far more likely that you're going to be coming at it from a developer point of view, because you're tying the user value to development features and trying to bring new things to market. If you're coming from an operations point of view, you'll be concerned with the environment. You'll be concerned about maintaining serviceability, and your stakeholders won't just include the users at the end attaining their value, but getting efficiencies out of the platform. My initial exposure was through the operations. So I was taking existing flows that might have been bash shell scripts, that might have been existing integration tools, and transferring everything into a MuleSoft environment. The sort of angles that I was looking at were separations of concern, logging, dashboards, utilizing the platform most efficiently. So understanding the limits of the environment, things like ulimit on your number of open file handlers, and all those little gotchas that get you as applications scale out, or you get multi-use out of your environment. Then we went to a digital transformation officially about 2 years ago. So that required me to put my developer hat on, get involved with a lot more agile work and the cascading of requirements from the user and how those get interpreted into features and functionality. And that's when you're building your proof of concept apps and pushing them forward into using new connectors or new technology. And that's when you're taking advantage of the community, the documentation, and gradually iterating through your exposure of different connectors or different backend systems and tying things together. So definitely two approaches to get into MuleSoft.
Can you talk a little bit more about if how can someone get more and more involved in the community? I mean, meetups is a great way to getting started. Do you see any other ways someone can contribute and work better in a collaborative environment?
Yes, I mean, got to definitely recommend those training courses. Almost everything you'll learn or need to learn is on the training courses. And if you really, even in a compressed timescale, try to do everything, you couldn't really learn everything in less than like 3 months. Doing the certifications regularly is a route to just testing your knowledge and knowing that you're looking outside of the box or looking for wider solutions. So something that I've always maintained over my 4 years whilst satisfying business requirements is putting myself on as many training courses as possible, watching out for new training courses, looking for those meetups, looking for those blogs that look at different technologies that aren't covered in the trainings. Many people go on the training courses, look at a particular component like a validation, and then we'll expand on it and show you novel uses and the sorts of things that come up in meetups. And that's where you get some more of your advanced knowledge.
Perfect. That's a great answer. My next question is to Felipe. Felipe, I know you manage an amazing team at Twitter. What would you, how would you guide someone if they want to, reach to a level at where you are in Twitter? Can you just give us some insights on how you're working in Twitter?
Yeah, I think that to mentor others to reach upper levels is initially you need to mentor them. You need to follow up with them all the activities they are doing, not in a micromanagement way, but like guiding them, like setting the expectations on the work that they are doing. So, for example, if they are new in the team, they should understand how the company works. They should understand how the team works. What are the standards that you are following to develop the integrations, the standards in terms of the practices, the patterns that you follow. So, and you should guide them to I don't know, to attend some meetings, to how to work with the stakeholders. And once they are set to do that, you should trust them and just leave them alone, just to move forward. In terms of also progressing, it's important for them to get involved in the community, because that way they can also learn new skills in terms of on the technical side, like what are the new products that so that's my take on that.
Awesome. We lost you like for 5 seconds there, but yeah, I think we still got a lot of good information from the answer. Great, Sabrina, back to you. We can take some questions if we have.
Yeah. Thank you all again for going through this with us. So we have one, I think, quite good question in the Q&A. And it says, have any of you experienced any prejudice or lack of interest towards the MuleSoft platform from the rest of the developer culture within your organization? And if so, how do you cope or deal with it? Deepak, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, this is I would say the problem isn't solved, at least in our world here. There's always saying, hey, why? So let me understand the question. Question is people more why MuleSoft or how do you deal with people asking why MuleSoft, why not something else, right? Just to make sure I understood the question.
How do you generate interest in the other developer teams within your organization for MuleSoft?
Yeah, so I have seen some instances where some teams say, no, we're already using this other technology that is solving this problem. Why do we want to use MuleSoft? So that's one. And the other one is, no, I can do this better in Java. Why do you have to learn this new platform? And so the way, there's no right answer, wrong answer, right? So this is more about how you convince them and really show that there's benefit of using this. Again, I'm not saying MuleSoft is one size fit all, but that's way. But if there is a case where you shouldn't use MuleSoft, we're the first one saying, no, please don't use MuleSoft for this. There are better tools for that. And so having said that, one of the things we do is we show we look at the other technology saying, okay, how long does it take you to do this? I mean, how is it reusable, whatever you do? and what are the other security features you have, how much time you spend on these things that you shouldn't be spending time on. Like, for example, security policy is one, and then like DR type of scenario, availability type, non-functional requirements. There's a lot of non-functional things that kind of helps us to position MuleSoft saying, hey, all these things are mostly taken care of with all these tweaks that you can do on the platform, and you just focus on the functionality. But again, there's always a case, that my other tool also does all these things, but why this, right? So then it becomes more on the more harmonization of technology in the company. It's more than on the strategy of the company. Why do you want to invest on this other tool, and we should be doing this? And then, so that there is no, I don't think I've answered the question, but it's more about showing all the benefits based on what we have done, and showing how quickly you can do the same thing that you're trying to do, and more about long-term support and maintenance and the skill set available to manage that going forward. So that's one of the ways we use to convince. Again, not easy. It's definitely a hard thing to solve. And yeah.
Can I give a different perspective on that? So when you're dealing with like prejudice and this lack of interest towards the platform, I tend not to think of that as like they don't understand the technical advantages of using MuleSoft, but instead it's kind of more of this like deeply seated belief that like, oh, it's a low code platform and you're not really doing development and so on and so forth. People want to, sometimes developers hang on to this thing like, oh, I'm doing pure Java and that's what developers really do. If that's the case, I think the best way to approach it is the same way you'd approach changing anybody's mind who has these kind of deep-seated beliefs, and that's building a relationship with them over an extended period of time, building trust, understanding what their issues are. And once you build that relationship, eventually they might start asking you for advice, and that's really your opportunity to start pitching your viewpoint to them, because at that point, once they're asking you for advice, they're open to your opinions, they're open-minded. You're more likely to break down that prejudice and leave them with an open mind.
And sometimes I'd like to add that sometimes the prejudice is to do with ownership. Sometimes people want to own a workflow, a business flow, because of the value perceived in delivering that and monitoring it. If you want to get them to hand over ownership to the new platform, the new way of working, then they need to be able to collaborate. They need to be able to have visibility on things like the monitoring and the dashboards. So they have some stake, because chances are they're building other things around it at either end of the integration. So that's what I find useful about the Anypoint platform, that you can give people read-only access, give people dashboards, show people that they still haven't lost that ownership, and they'll get visibility on what's been taken over.
If I may add, like, just to comment on Jonathan Francis, I do agree. There are the two kinds of challenges, right? One is if the developer community says why MuleSoft, versus the business, convincing business. So they're two different kinds of challenges. In the developer community, what we have seen is like we lead the MuleSoft practice. We have our own delivery team, skill set, the whole 9 yards to support any product in the company. Now that developer comes, oh, can we do it ourselves? Right? That's the challenge. We'll figure it out. So they go back and try something quick, and maybe it works, but it always comes back to, oh, we're stuck at this. We can't go beyond this. So that's the other challenge. I want to say is more about we'll do it ourselves versus aligning with the principles and make it do it more efficiently. So I just wanted to state that as well. So that's why we kind of bring in and help and guide, mentor, to partner with them in their journey, and then they can go off on their own to continue doing it in the best way possible.
I think that this is a pretty common situation, especially in companies where there's a lot of engineering background, when you have like many teams with a lot of engineers. So when you can say, hey, you can develop the API using Mule, some of them would say, yeah, but it's faster if you do it with whatever programming language or whatever framework. So I think a way to deal with that is like, I think Deepak mentioned that it's important to understand what are the strengths of Mule, So, but it also helps that if you really think that there's some value in the platform, the best thing that you can do is to reach the leadership team, so you can really showcase what can Mule do, and then from there they can define the strategy to try to incorporate Mule into the main pipeline, into the main tooling.
And just from my side to kind of rephrase what Francis said, is empowering the people with the work. It's what actually motivates sometimes developers, right? So if they are kind of dealing with MuleSoft is not the right fit, or basically you're working with that, but you have to put some developers on hands-on actual Mule, I guess ownership and empowering them to say, hey, this is your project, you can just start developing, and basically you are also kind of developing the actual person, right? Giving them the tools and actually leading them, right? And saying, okay, this is great, you can do better here, but maybe they also kind of give you better options, right? And as they are also engineers, they can actually tell you what else you can integrate with the actual platform, right? It's something that maybe we don't know. But yeah, definitely that's another good tool that we have.
Great. A lot of good comments. I think there is another question that I would like to ask you guys. So since all of you have been at some point in a leadership position, what is the best way that you have found to convince the leadership teams of cost benefits of going with API-led approach versus point-to-point? I'm sure this conversation has been, you have been in this conversation several times. So could you give us your experiences on how you handle those situations? Anybody can go first.
2 words summarize it really: reuse. So being able to break it down and reuse parts of the value you've already delivered, and being able to bolt on a new technology with de-risking it. So de-risking and reuse are the 2 key words that come up in my conversations a lot.
I think I'll go back where I started from, right? That this is where having a business knowledge with the developers help. API-led connectivity, is it always applicable? Yes, it is always applicable. Do we need to have all the 3 layers that we are talking about or that is promoted? Yes, that's where the business knowledge will come into place. As Francis was telling, that if you can show the reusability, if you are building a system API, and if you can tell that, hey, this system API is going to be reused in multiple other use case scenarios, yes, go for that. If you say that, no, it is not going to be reused in the near future, you don't have the visibility of it, then maybe that's the point that you need to start the discussion how you're going to do it. API, yes, but 3 layers, have it out. So, so again, keep telling that the developers need to understand what's the problem that they're solving at hand. That would be my one line.
If I may add another perspective here. To me, point-to-point is like monolithic architecture. Maybe that's not exactly true, but and then reusable API-led is sort of a microservices based. There's a parallel to that, because monolithic is something you cannot extend, very minimum reuse, very brittle, and whatever is done is just purpose built for that application. So point-to-point kind of fits that framework. I know some may differ on this view, but that's how at least I see, at least in terms of the traits of doing point-to-point. And then obviously when you switch to the microservices, more componentized, which can scale, expand, be elastic independently, and can be, it doesn't have to be purpose built, it can be repurposed. So that'll be my other comment to this.
Yeah, I think governance is also like where we can find value in the API approach, because you can give the API owners the ability to really manage the data, to really give access or provide granular access to the data via API, rather than giving access to through a different mechanisms. Sometimes it's hard to control the level of access or maybe align to the way that the company is giving access to the data. This is also a pretty valuable piece.
Perfect. Yeah, all good points. It's very helpful. Sabrina, back to you if you have any follow-up questions.
We have one question left, but we only have a few minutes. So I'll ask it if there's one or two people that want to answer, and then it'll be time to close out today's session. So do we have any case studies or projects executed for fuel price signage integration? I think that's restricted if any of you all are working on that. I'll take the silence as a no. All right. Sorry, what, Josh?
Like the gas station signs, or something more. I don't know. I haven't. I'm just curious about what the question is.
Ashok, if you're listening, put in the chat a little more information so we can.
I used to work in some gas stations previously and did some integrations, but pretty much not like MuleSoft at all.
Okay, well, with that, I just want to thank you all for taking the time this last hour. There was amazing information shared. I really hope our attendees were able to learn and make some decisions about their own career or see how they want to use MuleSoft in the future. So with that, I'm going to stop recording, and if you'd like to stay on, I'll be on for 3 more minutes. Otherwise, thank you, and we hope to see you at another meetup.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good